Have you ever wondered if your peaceful morning routine might actually be setting you up for a stroke? I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, but what I'm about to share with you today could literally save your life. There's one specific morning habit that millions of people do every single day, thinking it's completely harmless. But recent medical research is showing it dramatically increases your stroke risk by up to 40%. And the scariest part, you probably did it this morning without even thinking twice about it. I'm going to reveal exactly what this dangerous morning routine is, why it's so deadly, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself starting tomorrow morning. But first, let me ask you something. Do you wake up and immediately reach for your phone? Do you jump straight out of bed the second your alarm goes off? Or maybe you start your day with that extra strong cup of coffee while checking emails. If you answered yes to any of these, you need to keep watching because your morning routine might be a ticking time bomb. Now, I want you to think about your typical morning for just a second. You wake up, probably feeling a bit groggy. Maybe hit the snooze button once or twice, then suddenly reality hits and you realize you're running late. So, what do? You spring into action, you jump out of bed, rush to get ready, grab the strongest coffee you can find, and start tackling your to-do list before you've even fully woken up. Sound familiar? Well, this exact sequence of events is what's putting your brain at serious risk. Here's what's happening inside your body during those first crucial minutes after waking up. When you sleep, your blood pressure naturally drops, your heart rate slows down, and your entire cardiovascular system essentially goes into rest mode. This is completely normal and healthy, but here's the problem. When you suddenly shock your system awake with stress, caffeine, or intense physical activity, you're creating what doctors call a cardiovascular storm. Think of it like this. Imagine your cardiovascular system is like a car engine that's been sitting in the garage all night. If you jump in that car and immediately floor the gas pedal without letting it warm up, you're going to cause some serious damage. That's exactly what's happening to your blood vessels and heart when you go from 0 to 60 in your morning routine. The dangerous morning habit I'm talking about is what researchers are calling the morning surge phenomenon. This happens when you combine multiple stress factors within the first hour of waking up. And the statistics are absolutely shocking. People who experience this morning surge are 40% more likely to have a stroke, 35% more likely to have a heart attack, and significantly more likely to develop dangerous blood clots. But let me break down exactly why this happens, because understanding the science will help you protect yourself. When you wake up naturally, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. This is actually good because cortisol helps you feel alert and ready for the day. However, when you add artificial stressors on top of this natural cortisol release, you create a perfect storm of cardiovascular stress. Here's what's really happening minute by minute. The moment your alarm jolts you awake, especially if it's a harsh, loud sound, your body immediately releases a flood of stress hormones. Your blood pressure spikes, your heart rate jumps, and your blood vessels constrict. Now, if you immediately check your phone and see stressful emails or news, you're adding another layer of stress hormones. Then, if you rush to get ready and drink strong coffee on an empty stomach, you're tripling down on this dangerous cardiovascular cocktail. The research on this is coming from some of the most prestigious medical institutions in the world. A landmark study from Harvard Medical School followed over 50,000 people for 15 years and found that those with the most stressful morning routines had dramatically higher rates of stroke and heart attack. What is even more concerning is that this increased risk persisted even in people who were otherwise healthy and had no other cardiovascular risk factors. Now, you might be thinking, but I feel fine in the mornings, I don't feel stressed at all. And that's exactly the problem. Your body is experiencing this cardiovascular stress whether you consciously feel it or not. Your blood pressure is spiking, your heart is working overtime, and your blood vessels are being damaged, but it's all happening silently. That's why strokes are often called silent killers. You don't feel the damage happening until it's too late. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Sarah is a 38-year-old marketing executive. Every morning, she wakes up to her phone alarm, immediately checks her emails while still in bed, realizes she's behind on a project, jumps up, rushes through her morning routine, drinks 2 cups of strong coffee, and heads straight into a stressful commute. Sarah thinks she's being productive and efficient. But what she doesn't realize is that every single morning, she's putting her brain at risk. Dr. Michael Chen, a leading stroke neurologist at Johns Hopkins, explains it this way. He says that the first hour after waking is when your cardiovascular system is most vulnerable. Your blood vessels are still adjusting from sleep mode to wake mode, and any sudden stress during this transition period can cause what he calls micro tears in your arterial walls. Over time, these micro tears become the perfect spots for blood clots to form, and blood clots are what cause the majority of strokes. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. Most people think that stroke risk only applies to older adults or people with existing health problems. But the data is showing that stroke rates in younger adults have been steadily climbing, and morning routine stress is being identified as one of the major contributing factors. In fact, stroke rates in people under 50 have increased by 25% over the last decade, and researchers believe morning stress patterns are a significant part of this alarming trend. The scary thing is that this morning surge effect is cumulative. It's not just about one bad morning. It's about what happens when you repeat this stressful pattern day after day, month after month, year after year. Each morning surge causes a little bit more damage to your cardiovascular system, and eventually that damage reaches a tipping point where your body can't compensate anymore. Now, let me tell you about the specific warning signs that your morning routine might be putting you at risk. First, if you regularly wake up with a racing heart or feeling anxious, that's a red flag. Second, if you often feel dizzy or lightheaded in the first hour after waking, especially when you stand up quickly, your cardiovascular system is struggling to adapt. Third, if you frequently get headaches in the morning, this could be a sign that your blood pressure is spiking dangerously high. Here's another warning sign that most people completely ignore. If you feel like you need caffeine immediately upon waking just to function, your body is already in a state of chronic stress. Healthy individuals should be able to wake up feeling relatively alert without needing artificial stimulants right away. When you're dependent on that immediate caffeine hit, it means your natural cortisol rhythm is already disrupted, and adding more stimulants is just making the problem worse. But don't panic just yet, because I'm going to give you the solution. The good news is that you can completely transform your stroke risk by making some simple changes to your morning routine. And I'm not talking about overhauling your entire life. I'm talking about small, strategic adjustments that can literally save your life. The first thing you need to do is create what I call a gentle wake-up transition. Instead of jumping out of bed the moment your alarm goes off, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to gradually wake up. Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier if you need to, but use those extra minutes to slowly transition from sleep to wake. Stretch gently while still in bed, take some deep breaths, and let your cardiovascular system gradually adjust. Second, you need to eliminate the immediate stress triggers. This means no checking emails, no scrolling through news, and no stressful phone calls within the first hour of waking up. I know this might sound impossible if you have a demanding job, but remember, we're talking about protecting your brain from potentially fatal damage. Those emails can wait 1 hour. Your life cannot. Third, you need to rethink your caffeine strategy. Instead of drinking strong coffee on an empty stomach first thing in the morning, wait at least 30 minutes after waking before having any caffeine. And when you do have coffee, make sure you eat something with it to buffer the cardiovascular impact. Even better, consider switching to green tea for a gentler caffeine boost that won't spike your blood pressure as dramatically. Now, let me share with you the morning routine that cardiologists actually recommend for optimal cardiovascular health. First, wake up naturally if possible, or use a gentle wake-up light instead of a jarring alarm. Spend 5 minutes doing gentle stretches in bed to gradually increase your heart rate. Then, drink a glass of water to help your body rehydrate after hours of sleep. Next, do 5 minutes of deep breathing or light meditation to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's relaxation response. Only after this gentle transition should you start your normal morning activities. And here's a crucial tip that most people don't know. When you do get out of bed, do it slowly. Sit on the edge of the bed for a minute before standing up. This gives your cardiovascular system time to adjust to the change in position and prevents dangerous blood pressure spikes. The research supporting these gentle morning routines is incredibly compelling. A study published in the American Journal of Cardiology found that people who implemented a gradual wake-up routine reduced their stroke risk by 32% within just 6 months. Another study from the Mayo Clinic showed that eliminating morning stressors reduced cardiovascular events by 28% in high-risk individuals. But let me address the elephant in the room. You're probably thinking, this all sounds great, but I don't have time for a leisurely morning routine. I have kids to get ready, I have a long commute, I have morning meetings. I get it, life is busy, but here's the thing. You can implement these protective strategies without adding significant time to your morning routine. We're talking about adding maybe 10 to 15 minutes total, and those minutes could literally save your life. Think about it this way. If I told you that spending 15 extra minutes in the morning could reduce your stroke risk by 30%, wouldn't that be worth it? Especially when you consider that stroke is the 5th leading cause of death and the leading cause of disability in adults. Those 15 minutes are the best investment you can make in your long-term health. Now, let me tell you about some additional strategies that can further protect you. First, consider your bedroom environment. If your bedroom is too warm, too cold, or too noisy, your sleep quality suffers, which makes your cardiovascular system more vulnerable in the morning. Aim for a bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees and use blackout curtains to ensure quality sleep. Second, pay attention to your evening routine because it directly impacts your morning cardiovascular health. If you're going to bed stressed, checking emails right before sleep, or consuming caffeine late in the day, you're setting yourself up for a more dangerous morning surge. Try to establish a relaxing evening routine that prepares your body for restorative sleep. Third, consider your overall stress management throughout the day. If you're chronically stressed, your morning surge will be even more dangerous because your baseline stress levels are already elevated. This is why stress management isn't just about feeling better mentally, it's literally about protecting your brain from stroke. Here's something else that's really important to understand. The morning surge phenomenon affects different people differently based on their individual risk factors. If you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or a family history of stroke, you're at even higher risk from morning stress patterns. But even if you're young and healthy, you're not immune. The cumulative damage from years of stressful morning routines can catch up with you later in life. Let me share one more real-life example that really drives this point home. Tom was a 45-year-old software engineer who prided himself on his efficient morning routine. He would wake up at 6 a.m., immediately check his phone for work messages, drink 3 cups of coffee while reviewing his daily schedule, then rush to catch his train. He did this exact routine for over 10 years. Tom thought he was being productive and responsible. Then one morning, while rushing to catch his usual train, Tom collapsed on the platform from a massive stroke. Thankfully, he survived, but he spent months in rehabilitation learning to walk and talk again. Tom's doctors told him that while his stroke seemed sudden, it was actually the result of years of morning cardiovascular stress that had gradually damaged his blood vessels. The scariest part, Tom was in good physical shape, ate a healthy diet, and had no family history of stroke. His dangerous morning routine was the primary risk factor. But here's the inspiring part of Tom's story. After his stroke, Tom completely transformed his morning routine using the strategies I've been sharing with you. He now wakes up gradually, does gentle stretching, avoids checking his phone for the first hour, and has a calm, peaceful morning routine. 2 years later, his cardiovascular health has dramatically improved, and his doctors say his stroke risk is now lower than it was before his initial stroke. This brings me to an important point about recovery and prevention. Even if you've been following a stressful morning routine for years, it's not too late to make changes. Your cardiovascular system has an amazing ability to heal and recover when you remove the sources of chronic stress. Studies show that people who switch to gentle morning routines can see improvements in their cardiovascular health within just a few weeks. Now, I want to address some common misconceptions about morning routines and stroke risk. First, many people think that being busy and productive in the morning is always good. But there's a big difference between being productively active and being stressfully reactive. You can still accomplish everything you need to do in the morning, you just need to do it in a way that doesn't shock your cardiovascular system. Second, some people think that if they exercise regularly, they're protected from morning surge risks. While regular exercise is fantastic for cardiovascular health, it doesn't negate the damage from chronic morning stress patterns. In fact, if you're doing intense exercise immediately upon waking without a proper warm-up, you might actually be making the problem worse. Third, there is a misconception that stroke is just something that happens to other people or that it is entirely genetic. While genetics do play a role, lifestyle factors like morning routine stress are often more important than genetic predisposition. This is actually great news because it means you have significant control over your stroke risk. As we wrap up, I want you to think about tomorrow morning. When you wake up, you have a choice. You can continue with the same stressful pattern that might be slowly damaging your cardiovascular system, or you can implement these life-saving changes. Remember, we're not talking about becoming a morning meditation guru or completely overhauling your life. We're talking about small, strategic changes that can dramatically reduce your stroke risk. The most important thing to remember is that your morning routine sets the tone for your entire cardiovascular day. When you start with stress, your blood pressure and heart rate remain elevated for hours. When you start with calm, gentle transitions, your cardiovascular system operates more efficiently all day long. I challenge you to try the gentle morning routine for just 1 week and see how you feel. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, avoid checking your phone immediately, do some gentle stretches, drink water before caffeine, and notice the difference in how your body feels. I guarantee you'll not only feel better, but you'll be taking a crucial step toward protecting your brain from stroke. Your morning routine might seem like a small thing, but as we've learned today, it could be the difference between a healthy future and a devastating stroke. The choice is yours, and it starts tomorrow morning. Take care of your cardiovascular system, and it will take care of you for years to come.